Hello students, in the previous class we have discussed extra embryonic membrane. We have discussed all the diagram that it represents clearly the four extra embryonic membrane, that are the allantois, yolk sac, chorion and the amnion. Today we will discuss in detail the structure and the function of the four extra embryonic membrane. Those are the chorion, amnion, allantois and the yolk sac. So before going in detail to the structure of the four extra embryonic membrane, once again I want to do the diagram so that you can easily relate with the theory portion. As you all know, this one is your embryo, okay? This one is your allantois. This one is your yolk sac. Embryo is being totally covered by the extra embryonic membrane called the amnion, okay? And the total covering that covers the whole portion is the chorion, okay? And the chorion consists of finger-like process called chorionic villi, okay? Now we will do the mesoderm portion. As you all know, this is the mesoderm lining. These are the mesoderm lining. As you all know, externally it is lined by the ectoderm, but internally by the mesoderm or the somatopleuric mesoderm, okay? This one externally by the mesoderm. This one externally by the mesoderm. That was internally by the mesoderm, chorion portion, but amnion portion is your externally lined by the mesoderm, okay? Lastly, the yolk sac and the allantois region. As you all know this diagram properly, as we have done it before in the previous class, okay? So I am not labeling all the portions. This one is your amniotic fluid, or this one is your amniotic cavity. Amniotic cavity, okay? This one is your extra embryonic coelom, okay? This one is your chorion. This one is your amnion, okay? This one is your yolk sac. This one is your allantois, okay? This one is your placental chorionic villi, okay? As in the previous class, we have discussed all the portions of the diagram. Today I have done once more time the diagram so that you can easily relate with the theory portion. So first we will start the chorion. Chorion, first point. As you know, chorion is the outermost extra embryonic membrane. First point, chorion is your outer extra embryonic membrane. First point, it is the outermost extra embryonic membrane. Okay. Second point, the chorion is being laterally lined by the ectoderm and internally lined by the mesoderm. So the outer portion is your ectoderm and the inner portion is your mesoderm or somatopleuric mesoderm. So the outer portion is your ectoderm, okay, and the inner portion is your somatopleuric mesoderm. Okay, as you all know, when the ectoderm comes in contact with the mesoderm, we call it the somatopleuric mesoderm. Okay. Third point, in the chorion region there are various chorionic villi. Okay, various chorionic villi which invade into the endometrium for the proper establishment of the embryo. Third point, chorion forms chorionic villi. Okay, singular is your called villus. Chorionic villi which invades into the endometrium for the proper establishment of embryo. Okay, you understood this point? The chorion forms the chorionic villi, okay, which invades into the endometrium so that the embryo can be properly invades into the endometrium so that the embryo can be properly established. Okay. Last point, the cavity or the space. The space in between the chorion and the amnion is called the extra embryonic coelom. The space between the chorion and the amnion is called the extra embryonic coelom. Okay, this portion, the chorion portion, this one, and this one is your amnion. The space between the chorion and the amnion is called the extra embryonic coelom. Okay. The total we have discussed 4 points. First point, chorion, it is the outermost extra embryonic membrane. Second point, it is the externally or outer portion is present the ectoderm and inner side the present the somatopleuric mesoderm. The chorion forms the chorionic villi, singular is your villus, okay, which invades into the endometrium for the proper establishment of the embryo. Last point, the space between the chorion and the amnion is called your extra embryonic coelom. Okay. Now we will discuss the function. First function, it helps in the formation of the placenta. First point, it helps in the formation of placenta. Okay. Second point, it helps in exchange of nutrients, various transpiratory gases such as O2 and CO2 or oxygen and carbon dioxide. and also it helps in eliminating various metabolic nitrogenous waste products. It helps in exchanging nutrients, various respiratory gases such as O2 and CO2, and helps in eliminating the nitrogenous waste products. Okay. Last point, it helps in providing nourishment and protection to the developing embryo. It helps in providing nourishment and protection to the developing embryo. Okay. So these are your three important main functions. First one is it helps in the formation of placenta. Second one, it helps in exchange of nutrients, various respiratory gases such as O2 and CO2, and also it helps in eliminating the nitrogenous waste products. Third point, it helps in nourishing and protecting the developing embryo. Now we will discuss the next extra embryonic membrane, that is amnion. First point, amnion covers the whole embryo. The embryo is totally covered by an extra embryonic membrane that is called the amnion. Amnion covers completely the embryo. Okay. Second point, the amnion is externally lined by the mesoderm. The amnion is externally lined by the mesoderm but internally lined by the ectoderm, as I have represented the red one with the which represents the mesoderm and the black one which represents the ectoderm. So the amnion is being externally lined by the mesoderm and internally lined by the ectoderm. So we can write outer portion is present your somatopleuric mesoderm, okay, and inner portion present your ectoderm. Okay, why we have written the somatopleuric mesoderm? Because the ectoderm and mesoderm, when comes in contact with each other, or the extra embryonic ectoderm and the extra embryonic mesoderm, when comes in contact with each other, then we call it the somatopleuric mesoderm. Okay, so as the mesoderm is the outer one, so we have written outer portion present the somatopleuric mesoderm, and it is internally lined with the ectoderm. Third point, the cavity that is present in between the amnion and the embryo is called your amniotic cavity. The cavity present in between the embryo and the amnion is called amniotic cavity. Okay. In the case of chorion, the space between the chorion and the amnion is called your extra embryonic xylem, but the space or the cavity between the amnion and the embryo is called your amniotic cavity. Okay. Last point. The amniotic cavity is filled with a fluid which is secreted both by the embryo and the amnion is called the amniotic fluid. The amniotic cavity is filled with a fluid which is secreted by both embryo and the amnion is called amniotic fluid. Okay. Once again we will discuss the 4 points. The first point, amnion covers completely the embryo. The outer portion of the amnion is the mesoderm or the somatopleuric mesoderm, and it is internally lined by the ectoderm. Third point, the cavity or the space between the amnion and the embryo is your amniotic cavity, and amniotic cavity consists of some fluid known as amniotic fluid which is secreted both by the embryo and the amnion. Okay. Now we will discuss the function. First point, it helps or we can say the amniotic fluid which is present in the amniotic cavity helps in protecting the embryo, or we can say it acts as a shock absorber, or we can say it acts as a cushion. Okay. So simply we can write the amniotic fluid which is present inside the amniotic cavity acts as a shock absorber which protects the developing embryo. Amniotic fluid which is present inside the amniotic cavity acts as a shock absorber which helps or which protects, we can say, which protects the developing embryo. Okay. Next point, it helps in movement of the embryo. As the embryo is present in the mother's womb, it can easily move by the help of the presence of the amnion or the amniotic fluid. So we can say the second point, it helps in the movement of the embryo. It helps in movement of the embryo so that the embryo can easily be moved inside the mother's womb. Okay. Third point, it helps in preventing desiccation. Desiccation means what? Removal of the moisture. So we can tell it helps in maintaining the moisture of the embryo. So the third point is it helps in preventing the desiccation of the embryo. Third point, it helps in preventing desiccation. Desiccation means, I am writing in the bracket, removal of moisture. Okay, preventing desiccation of the embryo. Okay, so these are your 3 important functions. First function, amniotic fluid that is present inside the amniotic cavity which helps or which act as a shock absorber, okay, which protects the developing embryo, or it's the main function of the amniotic fluid that is present in the amniotic cavity is to protect the developing embryo, or we can say it acts as a shock absorber, or we can say it acts as a cushion. Second point, it helps in the it helps in the movement of the embryo, and the last point, it helps in preventing desiccation, which means it prevents the removal of the moisture, or we can say it helps in maintaining the moisture of the embryo. So we have discussed the two extraembryonic membrane, that is your chorion and the amnion. One more point I want to add in this amnion is your amniocentesis. Okay. Amniocentesis. Okay. What is amniocentesis? It is a technique in which a small portion of the amniotic fluid is being taken, in which the fetal cells are present, and by analyzing the fetal cells we can determine if any genetic disorder is present or not. It is a technique in which small portion of amniotic fluid is being taken by which we can analyze if any genetic disorder is present or not. In bracket I will write by analyzing the fetal cells. Okay. So amniocentesis is a technique in which small portion of amniotic fluid is being taken, and the amniotic fluid consists of the various fetal cells. Those fetal cells were analyzed so that we can determine if the developing embryo is having any genetic disorder or not. Okay, so far we have discussed two extraembryonic membrane in detail, that is your chorion and the amnion. Now we will discuss two more extraembryonic membrane, those are the allantois and the yolk sac. Next is your allantois. First point, it is a small sac-like structure or pouch-like structure. It is a small sac-like structure. First point, it is a small sac-like structure. Okay. Second point, what are the lining? As you can see properly, I have lined internally by the green color, means I have told that green color represents the endoderm. So the allantois is being internally lined by the endoderm and externally lined by the mesoderm, but the type of mesoderm here present is the splachno-pleuric mesoderm. So we can write here the outer portion is your splachno-pleuric mesoderm. Okay, whereas the inner portion present your endoderm. Okay, so do not confuse. Third point, it is mesoderm. It is basically non-functional in case of human. Okay. Third point, it is basically non-functional in case of human. So these are the three important points. First point, it is a small sac-like structure. Second point, it is externally lined by the splachno-pleuric mesoderm and internally lined by the endoderm. Third point, it is non-functional in case of human. Now come to the functions. Generally, in the apes and reptiles, it helps in the excretion process. Okay, it helps in apes and reptiles. It helps for excretion. That is why it is also called the extra embryonic kidney. Extra embryonic kidney. Okay. Second important point, it helps in the formation of the blood vessels for the placenta. It helps in formation of blood vessels of placenta. Okay. So there are two important functions. Generally, first point, if I'll say, it helps in the formation of the blood vessels of the placenta. Second important point is it helps in the case of apes and reptiles. It plays major role by the continuation of the process of the excretion. That is why it is also called in the embryonic stage. That is why it is also called the extra embryonic kidney. Okay. So now we have discussed the allantois. Now come to the next extra embryonic membrane, that is your last extra embryonic membrane, that is your yolk sac. Okay. Your last extra embryonic membrane is the yolk sac. Okay. Yolk sac. It is a large sac-like structure. Allantois was your small sac-like structure, whereas the yolk sac is large sac-like structure. First point, it is a large sac or pouch-like structure. Okay. Second point, same as it was in case of allantois. In the case of yolk sac, it is also internally lined by the endoderm, but externally it is lined by the splanchnopleuric mesoderm. So we can say outer portion is your present splanchnopleuric mesoderm, and internally it is lined with the endoderm. Okay. Last point, it is poorly developed in case of human. It is poorly developed in case of humans. Okay. Lastly, the function. First point, in the case of humans, it helps in the formation of the blood cells, but up to the formation until the formation of the liver. After that, the yolk sac shrinks. First important point, in humans, it helps in formation of blood cells till the formation of liver. After that, the yolk sac shrinks. Okay. Means in case of human beings in the embryonic stage, until the formation of the liver, the yolk sac helps in the formation of the blood cells. but after the formation of the liver, the yolk sac shrinks. Last important point, in case of apes and reptiles, it helps in providing nutrient. That is why it is also called extra embryonic gut. In case of apes and reptiles, it provides nutrients, or we can say food. That is why it is also called extra embryonic. That is why it is also called extra embryonic gut. Okay? In case of apes and reptiles, it plays the major role as it provides nutrients, or we can say food. That is why it is also called the extra embryonic gut. Allantois was, in case of apes and reptiles, it was also called as extra embryonic kidney, but in case of yolk sac, it is also called the extra embryonic gut. So once again we will repeat the yolk sac, all the points. First point, it is a large sac-like structure. It is laterally or the externally lined by the splanchnopleuric mesoderm and internally lined by the endoderm. It is poorly developed in case of humans. Okay, main function. In humans, it helps in formation of the red blood cells, but up to the formation, until the formation of the liver. After that, the yolk sac will shrink. But in case of apes and reptiles, it plays an important role by providing the nutrient or food. That is why it is also called extra embryonic gut. Okay. So, this is all about your extra embryonic membrane. While finishing all of our portion of the extra embryonic membrane, I want to ask you a question, that is there any similarity between the fetus and the embryo? Is the embryo and the fetus are same? No. Embryo is the stage up to the 8th week, and the fetus is the stage from the 8th week up to the birth of the child. Okay, this is the main difference between the embryo and the fetus. Okay, so you should remember that in case of main difference in case of allantois and the yolk sac, it is a small sac-like structure, it is a large sac-like structure. Okay, in case of human, both are almost non-functional. But in case of apes and reptiles, it plays major role, as the allantois plays a major role in the process of excretion. That is why it is also called the extra embryonic kidney. Whereas the yolk sac, allantois, is called the extra embryonic kidney, as it plays the major role in the process of excretion. But the yolk sac, it plays the major role in providing nutrient or the food. That is why it is also called the extra embryonic gut. Okay, so this is all about your whole process or the whole portion of your extra embryonic membrane that consists of chorion, amnion, allantois and yolk sac. We have in detail studied the complete diagram, the complete detailed structure and the complete function. So that's all for today. We will meet in our next class. Thank you.